Yo, how's it going, guys? So today I've got this old mountain bike that I'm going to convert to a single speed. Seems to have pretty good bones. I've actually picked this up for $10 from the local dump, so pretty happy with that. Brakes and gears are all pretty busted up, but frame was pretty solid. Tange custom triple butted chromoly tubing, size small, so I thought it'd make a sweet little single speed dirt jumper maybe. Probably going to swap out the cranks, handlebars and forks, because I noticed that the actual valve for the air on the forks had gone. It had snapped off, so I can't actually pump air into these forks. So I'll swap those out with some Marzocchis that I've got lying around. Front brake's pretty corroded and rusted, but I think I'm just going to run a rear brake on it. Yeah, apart from that, the frame seems to be in pretty good condition. Only a few scratches with a little bit of rust coming through, but nothing really to worry about. And yeah, I've got a whole bunch of new parts. So these are some of the new parts that I've got for it. So I've got this single speed conversion kit, 18 tooth with a chain tensioner. Got some cranks that I'm going to swap out as well. Some different pedals, different saddle, and some pretty wide hookworm Maxxis tires, 2.5. Hoping they're going to fit. I think they will. And these are the Marzocchi, I think, dirt jumper forks that I've got. Just had them in the garage in the parts bin, so thought they would swap out quite nicely. And yeah, let's crack on with it. So I was having a little bit of trouble getting out the bottom bracket. With old bikes like these, they've usually been sat in there their whole life, so they can be pretty seized in there. So I just put the frame on the ground, got a big spanner, and just used my body weight to loosen it. Thankfully it loosened. So now that the bike's all stripped down, I just use some muck off to clean off all the dirt, and then use some bike protect just to give it a nice protection. Pretty happy with how the frame's turned out, cleaned up pretty nicely. There's a little bit of rust around this area here, but apart from that it's just surface rust, and the rest of the frame is pretty nice. Pretty happy. So I'm pretty surprised with the condition of the headset. I'm actually going to leave all the bearings in there because it's pretty well greased and no signs of rust or dirt or anything, so pretty happy with that. I'll just put a little bit more grease in and then we'll start the reassembly. So now we'll be getting to the bit where we're actually starting to convert it to a single speed. So what you'll need is a cassette tool and a chain whip, and you're basically removing the cassette and putting on that single speed kit. So I'll just put it on here now. I'm just going to put it on loosely because I might need to adjust the spacing once I've got the crankset on. So yeah. So here's a little trick. If you've got Schrader tubes and a Presta rim, all you need to do is just drill the hole slightly larger. Pretty simple, just make sure you've got the right size drill bit and drill it straight, and just remember to remove all the metal shavings because you don't want them to puncture your tube. But yeah, it's easy as that. Pretty stoked how these hookworm tires turned out. They're 2.5, so I was a little bit worried about what the clearance would be like, but pretty happy with how it's turned out. So this is the crankset that I'm going to use. It's currently set up with 2 chain rings, so I'm just going to remove the small one, which is pretty easy, just so there's one single one. So it looks like I've run into a little bit of a problem here. The bottom bracket that came with the cranks is 73 width, and my bottom bracket shell is actually 68. And this is an ISIS drive bottom bracket, and I don't actually have another one of them. So I think I'm gonna have to try find another crankset. So luckily I actually had another crankset with the same BCD mountain bike with square taper, and I've got a square taper bottom bracket. So I've just swapped the chainring and bash guard over and it fits perfectly, so pretty happy. So now that the crankset's on, we can sort out the chain line. The rear spaces at the back give you the ability to move the cog all along that free hub body. At the moment my cog looks like it's pretty in line, so you just got to make sure it lines up by just looking from the back, or even try and put a chain on it and just make sure it's straight. This is pretty straight, so I'm pretty happy. I'll just tighten up the cassette and then we're good to go. Now with this tensioner, now that the chain's on, what you do is you just pull it back and it'll put the tension on the chain, and then just use this fixing bolt to make sure it does loosen itself. And yeah, that's as simple as that. So I've run into a little issue here with the tyres actually rubbing onto the cable, because of the size of the tires I've put on. So to fix this, I'm just going to put on some longer V-brake arms, and that should sort it out. And there we are, all done. Just amazes me how somebody was actually throwing this out the dump. I'm just pretty stoked to give it a new life. I think the black forks work well on it, and the wide tires make it look super sick. So yeah, let's test this guy out. Let's take it for a spin.